into open session, and we will come back into board reports. And the first item in board reports is the student board representative, and we will turn to our student representative, Michaela Kennedy.
Hello. So we've had a lot of very exciting things happen or that are coming up. Homecoming was on the 6th and 7th. The 6th was the football game and the 7th was the dance. We had some really, really fun dress-up days that week. We had superheroes versus villains. We saw a lot of Batmans. There were 5 guys that were really close friends, so they all dressed up as Batman, so that was fun to see. Barbie vs. Ken, that was another really fun one to see as well. Football won the homecoming game against Turner. That was exciting. And then the homecoming dance on Saturday was great. It was only $5 to get in, really exciting, lots of music and chips and all of those things. The musical is also coming up. That's going to be the Sister Act, and that is November 8th. November 8th is a school preview. It's just a little sneak peek. And then November 10th through the 12th is the musical. So that's Friday through Sunday. Friday and Saturday is going to be at 7 p.m., and then Sunday is 1:30. The NHS blood drive is also coming up. That's this Wednesday. Super excited. I'm going to help run that this year. Anyone who donates gets a $15 Amazon gift card, a free t-shirt, and a pancake breakfast. So we really bribed them this year, and it seemed to work.
And you filled up the slots, right?
Yes, we started with 50 people as a goal, and then we met that goal and had to ask for more Red Cross staff members to come in for that day, and we got to 62, but they cut us off because we couldn't have any more, so they gave us a waiting list just in case anybody wasn't able to, like if they were low in iron or whatever, then we can fill that spot. But spring we'll have another one, so hopefully those who weren't able to this year or this time will be able to in the spring sign up. And then for the sports, football, like I said, they won their game against Homecoming. Their playoff starts this Friday. And then tennis, a few of our tennis athletes went to sectionals, our 1 and 2 doubles. Their season is over. And then volleyball, they start regionals tomorrow and they're 4 seed. Boys soccer starts regionals next Thursday versus Lakeside at Lakeside, so that'll be exciting. Big rivalries there. And then lastly, we have biking club, and their state meet is this Saturday at Waterloo, so that's very exciting.
All right. Thank you. All right. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Ken.
I was just curious, the biking club, is that the, like, road racing or mountain, do you know?
It's mountain biking.
Mountain
what are
biking.
they?
Okay.
Don't they have like a name? Is it, they have like a Camrock? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to our next, we'll turn it over to Ms. Beschlich for the policy updates.
Yeah, we have quite a few policy updates this time from Neola. So it is a first reading through these. The policies are in the majority of the policies are under the policies, and then if you click under that portion, then they have a draft section. And then on the left-hand side, at the top, it says policies for committee/board approval. So underneath there, you can kind of find each of those numbered policies. And then there's a few extra this time that are under the featuring or future policies a little bit further down on that left-hand side. But a lot of them were just ones that were maybe crossed out, but then combined into make a new policy. Some of them had just some language changes versus like a he versus she to maybe a full staff or administration. And then some of them had just some more specific wording put in to them. Another one was the adding of the volunteer bus driver within that volunteer part for board members. A couple of them were just new policies that they created based off of different things that have come up. But did you have any questions as you looked through them?
I had one, with the artificial intelligence, the new wording for that, are we seeing a lot, or any issues with, I guess it's chat box or whatever it's called? Chat, well, whatever, yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard anything. I'm sure the high school is really starting to deal with that, but I think all the school districts around the nation are trying to figure out, like, okay, do we have to teach differently instead of the typical assignments? You know, do we change up the format? But yeah, that was added to the academic honesty policy, but that seems to be rolling out in a lot of our information across the state about what everybody's doing to tackle that.
Okay.
We know their student voice, so when they use AI, pretty easy to. So we try to show all these sites and use different ways, all these new articles about how to use it appropriately.
Right, any other questions?
Just,
I think-
I had some interest in the trips that are not sponsored by the district. And, you know, it seemed good to make that update to the policy. It does seem like a risky area, that even if you said it wasn't the district, it's a teacher, it's students, you know. Is there-
Really what that does is it allows staff to use the district email to communicate with the parents and the students, even though all the risk and liability is on that outside organization. So typically, I know our Spanish teacher asked for that, so that was one trip that she had proposed. It's not sponsored by the district, but they usually contract with some outside travel agency that does this just for a job. And so I double check the forms from that agency that they're working with, you know, their liability certificates and the refund policies and things like that. But the staff make it very clear to parents that this is an extra additional trip outside of that. And I would say it's pretty common in school districts, but if we didn't allow them to use their district email to communicate with parents, they would really have no way, you know, to get that word out, to be able to solicit that. I think it is a nice opportunity. Usually those trips happen in the summer or during a spring break that I see over the years, a lot of students taking advantage of that. Usually it's somewhere, you know, over in Europe or something, you know, South America, that is a led trip that is usually pretty cost effective and involves some fundraising on top of it so that they have the means to go.
And so this was a question about whether they can use the school email, is that?
Right, so just, you know, so that if they are communicating via email, parents don't think, well, it's coming from a school district email, so it must be a school-sponsored trip. So the staff member has to make it very clear that this is not a district-sponsored trip, that this is an outside opportunity for them.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so this is just our first read, so if you come up with anything before the next board meeting, feel free to reach out. The one thing that I did note, and I know when we were doing it in our policy committee meeting, we struck out a portion in 1421, but the
Okay.
other two didn't get that added in as well, because they were all similarly worded. So just to make sure by the next meeting that,
I was actually going to call you today on that because my notes weren't very clear, and then I have strike through the self-reporting language, and I could not find which policy we were talking. So that was
Yeah.
14?
1421.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else? All right. We will move on to me with the update for the the Collaborative Advisory Committee team, or update. The last fall meeting was had last week. It was in my personal opinion, a fantastic presentation by the financial Brian Baird. Or Brian Brewer of Baird. And so, and lots of questions were had about that, and just a review of the rankings of the different facility needs items just a review of that and the takeaways from that. The next steps, we had a conference call meeting this morning with representatives from EUA, Findorf, the district, and myself. And just the next steps for that, it's the EUA and Findorf will make preliminary programming groupings or ideas based on the rankings from the CAT team. That then will go, they will present those to the board, hopefully at a later November meeting, a workshop that we can set now or any time, but potentially later November.
Yeah, I actually added that after a meeting into board docs with that proposed dates there. And once you finish, you can do that too, but it was the November 28th from 4:30 to 6. We were going to see what the board's availability was. I would say, as you were saying that, the one new person coming into the team is a planner, kind of I don't know what her technical name was, but there is somebody else in the team that kind of helps look at what was on the facility priority list and can kind of help put those plans together for us as well.
They're employed by EUA, or they're a
Yes, by
totally different?
EUA.
Oh, okay.
And so then after that potential late November meeting, the board will discuss what's the possible solution groupings are. And then from there, we can put our input in. And then after that, then Findorf EUA representatives will provide more detail, or provide or gather more details on the options, the possible options. And then from there, it'll come back to the CAT committee. And again, all the proposed solutions will be coming from the rankings of the CAT meeting, so.
They just wanted some direction, because they don't want to start developing options and then come back, and then the board's like, there's no way, this is, that we're going to go that route. So they just, before they got too far into costing and developing some solutions, wanted a little bit more direction, just wanted a chance to work with the full board.
So, and then from after the February or winter meeting with the cats, if more is needed, then potentially with the CAT team, not the cats, going out to survey or holding off till depends on what the CAT team decides, so. So with that, the group, Findorf and EUA, wanted to ask, and so did, me as just the small representative from the board, are there any key takeaways from other board members from the CAT team meetings and the pause, any surprises, and interested to hear preliminarily, and you'll have obviously many voices, we'll all have many voices to put in, but.
I thought there was, at the stage where they said, can each table give one, comment, I thought there were some pretty interesting comments out of that it seemed like people were progressing in their thinking about things. I particularly liked the one comment, the first comment, I think, where the gentleman at the table said, it's easy to think about being mediocre. Sometimes finances, force you into that. But he said, I'd also like to think that we can think about being, excellent or something. And I thought, we are trying to achieve that through academics, and no reason why not to try to do that in this, process.
Right.
I thought that was a pretty good comment.
And a lot of people can agree that facilities impact academic achievement, so we
Yeah.
bring it up to that level. I was thinking too, I think a lot of people were just very concerned about the safety issues that were brought up with the facilities, the tennis court at the middle school, which has been like a topic of conversation for a long time, just certain things that it's the ADA accessibility, those kind of things. So I think we'll have a lot of support from the CAT team and the community just about getting basic safety things done with the funding. So that's what I'm hopeful for too, and then hopefully we can address some of the other issues too, but that was definitely a priority that I heard.
I thought it was great to just see them evolve over the many meetings, but then also understand, to a depth of what goes on in the school district, right? And it's great to see their light bulb moments of like, oh, so if I'm paying off this debt, it's not like at home where I can save it up and, put it towards this project. So it was really great, I think, just to build that education and understanding of some of the things that happen within the school district and why things are done the way they are. But yeah, there were a lot of common themes, one of them revolving around safety for sure. So it was a good conversation.
All right. Well, then it will November 28th, that time, 4:30 to 6, work for everyone to have
What day is it?
that is a Tuesday.
And we're thinking maybe that would be in lieu of the normal facilities committee, correct?
Correct.
Bless you.
It works for me.
Okay. All right. And then, at that point, then EUA will give us their preliminary thoughts on groupings, potential groupings, potential projects, and at that point, then that'll work. All right.
Okay.
All right. Then we are on to administrative reports. Dr. Olson.
All right. Just some quick updates. Not updates, but I'm going to start by introducing our LEAP program. So we have Mrs. Sue Schmidt, who is our teacher for this program. I almost feel like coordinator for this program. We're very fortunate to have her leading this program as we brought it back from Johnson Creek, and I'd say it's just been highly successful, and so that's why we wanted to hear from the students and from her about that investment that the district made in this. So I'll let you take it away.
And I brought with me Alex, one of my students. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have throughout the presentation. Is the mic off? I don't know.
Is it the green light?
There's a little button in the middle. Oh, there we go.
Thanks, Alex. So, again, the Lake Mills Alternative Education Program started, and I don't know how to make the presentation go forward. Next slide. Just wanted to start a little bit by talking about at-risk. I've really been blessed to work about 25 out of my 30-plus years in education with the at-risk kids, and I find that people don't really know what I'm talking about when I talk about at-risk. It's just children are at risk of not graduating from high school. And the state really defines a couple areas, at least 1 or more years behind their age group in the number of credits attained, 2 or more years behind their age group in basic skill levels, habitual truants, parents, and adjudicated delinquents. I have kids in every single category in this definition in my program. I'd really think that they should be added to. I really would think that, and again, in 25 years, AODA applies to some of these kids, and also now, especially since these seniors are the COVID freshmen, mental health is a big concern with some of the kids and why they may not be successful in school. So just a little bit of a history. It began in Johnson Creek in 2016. I actually was the teacher in 2016, was there for 3 years and left, and now I'm happy to be back. We moved it over to Lake Mills this year and changed the name. It used to be called CAP or Crossroads because it was modeled after a program in Fort. We currently still have 1 junior enrolled from Johnson Creek that'll finish up with us. We primarily use an online curriculum, not for everything, but that is what we use a lot of. It's called Ingenuity. It's great. It aligns with all the state standards, and they've got some great classes. And I have both regular and special education kids in the LEAP program. Just some general information. I have 2 sessions every day. The morning session is from 8 to 11. Afternoon is from 12 to 3. Because the students have a shortened day, they also have to work or volunteer, and I do have kids that do both. Some admission criteria. Typically, we'd like students to be at least a second semester sophomore. their first thing that they do is talk to their guidance counselors, because I don't know these kids. I know the kids in my program, so they're a really good resource to determine whether or not the student would be a good candidate for the program. If it is a good option, we schedule a big meeting. The student, parents, guidance counselor, administrators, sometimes different outside agencies, to talk about the whole program. Parents have a lot of questions, and answer all of those. See if this is a good fit and something that they're interested in. If so, there's an application process they need to fill out and return it, or we go over their transcripts to see where they're at, and then set a date to begin. There's 2 pathways to graduation within this program. One is 26 credits, like all the other students. But the most popular pathway is the GETO 2. And this is the program that we got approved from the state of Wisconsin. And it allows kids to use some of the HSED tests in the 4 core areas. So English, math, science, or social studies, instead of, say, for example, 4 credits of English, if they can take and pass the GED or HSED, they're interchangeable, it's the same test. In the reading language arts, they don't have to fulfill all 4 credits, or 4 credits. English, math, science, and social studies, the students can choose in each of those areas whether they test or fulfill them by the credits. And typically, it's a combination of both. In order to also be in the GETO 2 program, the students must be 17 years or older. They have to be credit deficient, and the state defines credit deficient as 3 or more credits behind where they should be as far as their graduating class. They must be reading at the 9th grade level or higher, and that's a requirement because these tests are hard. They are very hard. And there's also an additional parent meeting and contract in order to be in the GETO 2 program. Some cool success things I wanted to share with you guys. Last year, there were 19 students total that were enrolled in LEAP throughout the school year. I had 7 students with special needs. They passed a total of 55 Edgenuity courses, and 6 of those students graduated. This year, I currently have 18 students in the program and a waiting list for 2nd semester. I have 10 seniors as of today. All of them are on track to graduate. I do have 6 students with special needs, and then again, 3 students on the waiting list. Just some fun things. It's not just all academics. I really like to make sure that in addition to that piece, which is obviously important, that we talk about and get these guys set up for their future. So we do field trips. We've gone to Madison College. We do apprenticeship programs. We have guest speakers. In fact, the 24th of this month is when our next guest speaker is going to come in to talk about apprenticeships, which these students really enjoy and do very, very well at and make great money. And there's just a couple of other things. I've got students who volunteer at the mill, help in the kitchen at St. Vittie's, and a couple other places that our community, thankfully, is gracious enough to hire my kids. A lot of kids at the market, a lot of kids at McDonald's. I've got 2 at Donald General, a couple at Culver's. Scoopy was one of my students that night. Got a student that works at a farm, St. Vittie's Pizza Pit, Lake Mills Elementary School, and Walgreens. So, which is awesome. They're doing great. This is Alex, and he came with me. He does work since April, right? You've been working for the school district?
Yes.
Alex is definitely one of my success stories. He came to me as a junior from the WEVA Virtual Academy. He had 0.75 credits. Alex is incredibly smart. He applied to graduate early, hopefully. He's hoping he gets improved. He actually will be making a lot of money. In about 4 or 5 years, he's got an apprenticeship set up for cybersecurity. Alex does a lot with computers. You should see, we're working on his portfolio right now. The computer that he built and the custom keyboard, and he's very skilled in some of these areas. So that's pretty awesome. What questions can we answer for you?
I'd just like to add, we're very fortunate to have West Elementary School. He's a really hard worker. And the teachers rave about what a great job he does in their room.
Good job, Alex.
You sure you don't want to go into teaching, Alex? No?
Say again?
You don't want to go into teaching then?
No.
We need you.
I'm not one to stand in front of a lot of people.
So, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So it's a half day of classes and then they go to work in the afternoon. And that's a sufficient amount of time to be able to complete all the credit hours and, yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that's a diploma too, not a GED, correct? Even though it's a
Nope,
GED
They get a regular
test.
Lake Mills High School diploma,
Okay.
even if they choose the GEDO 2 route.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
It's a great program. I appreciate all your
Thanks.
work there. Is, do you, there's the requirement to do voluntary or have a job. Do you help with any of that? Is there any?
Absolutely, I can. Most of the students, however, are able to find jobs on their own. They like to work. Working is not really a problem. I think the money is a big motivation, but I absolutely can help the kids find a job. And like I said, the community's been great with hiring them. So,
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
whatever help they need, that's what we're here for.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I was going to ask a little bit more about your waiting list. Do you have a waiting list because you feel like the physical space isn't big enough, because you don't have enough octopus arms to help everyone at the same time?
Couple things, and thank you for asking that. I'm in the old conference room. It's not a huge room. You guys have seen that room. So right now, we actually talked about setting a maximum number of students, and I picked 10 because of the space. Could we grow and expand the program in the future? That would be fantastic. Also, all 3 kids in the waiting list are currently sophomores, and we would like to wait until second semester sophomore to admit new students, and or juniors or seniors. We obviously take everybody, but yeah, we could use some more space. I could have more kids, but it is a small. It's a lot of kids. 10 is a lot in that room, I'll be honest with you, especially if, like in my morning class, I've got some kids that are a little bit chatty, we'll say.
What's the reasoning to wait till second semester sophomore year?
Well, I don't know that we've got, first of all, a lot of the kids do that GEDO 2 route, and you've got to be 17. And so if we take kids too young, there's a lot of time. Like when Alex came to me, we did the practice tests, because I always do that just to see. It helps me guide a path of where their graduation is going to lead, what they need to work on. It's just a lot of extra time if the kids, and most of the kids, I would say about 80% of my kids, go the GEDO 2 route. And so it is just, I don't know that I need 4 years to do that. Plus, kids sometimes coming in from the middle school, coming to the high school, have a fresh start, and sometimes if they struggled in the middle school, they do great at the high school. And so I don't want to kind of, track kids into a certain, this is, where you'll end up. Not necessarily.
That's what I was going to ask, if you think even the program would be valuable at the middle school level to kind of catch kids sooner. Before, Chuck, you might be able to speak to that too, but is that something that other districts have, middle school level, or?
Well, it couldn't be GEDO 2, but I know a lot of
The
districts-
alternate environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say yes, and I know a lot of districts, especially bigger districts, have that. So would there be something, I don't know anything about the middle school, about your kids, but, I'm sure that there probably is some sort of a need for something.
It's certainly something we kind of connected not too long ago. Actually, Connie and I talked a little bit about that, and there's, I think it's a smaller need in the sense that, again, we don't have credits, so credit efficiency isn't an issue for us. But there are certainly a few students that need some additional support, and sometimes that alternate space and environment to be more successful.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of times if kids need that additional support, often it's, they're tracked into special education and getting an IEP, and that might not necessarily be, it's like kind of those in-between kids where you're not doing well with the regular population, you don't need an IEP, but you just need a little bit smaller environment, more support, maybe work, volunteer, things like that. So I think it's a
And I
great
think the
idea.
smaller classes really is beneficial. I think everybody would agree, and that's in my class. They like that.
Yeah.
Helps out.
I got a quick question for Alex. So you were already doing a virtual option through WEVA, and then I guess, what was the difference with this program? Because you're still doing virtual classes through Ingenuity. So how has this program helped you?
The big difference is one, being at home can really distract, especially because in my own room, I don't have a lot of distractions, but just being the need of just being in my own room lets my mind kind of wander off. But being in a small classroom where I know everybody else is doing the same thing is really like comforting in a way, knowing that I can get help whenever and I don't need to wait until like the next day. If I need to email her, you know, she's usually awake and she can say like, yeah, I'm here, we could do this tomorrow and do that. And for me, I have a loss of time management, and kind of being nagged, as she calls it, keeps me on schedule, while at home, I kind of just do my own thing. So
That makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you. If there's no other questions, absolutely, this is a wonderful program. Thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex, as well. Right. Okay.
Okay. The next thing on the list is bus cameras. So the bus cameras are under letter F in the action items, and we've put some information out in my memo to the board. Tasha does have a monthly meeting with Brad Mosier, and that's something that they've expressed concern over. I actually was able to talk with quite a few of the bus drivers last Thursday as well, and they have really said that while the in-bus cameras probably help more of the administrative team, because we're the ones that are watching for school discipline, and those will help. But they said as a bus driver, their bigger concern are those outside bus cameras. They said almost on a weekly basis, somebody is passing the bus illegally with the lights and stop sign out. And it happens not so much in town, but a lot, in the country routes. And so they're looking for also some increased collaboration, probably with our sheriff's department as well, because they would be the ones issuing the tickets, obviously outside of the city of Lake Mills. But that to me is really a safety concern that we need to help the bus drivers with. But you saw some of the pictures of the before and after, and it's night and day, and I think the principals can attest to it. Anytime you're trying to look at bus footage of student discipline in the back of the bus, you can't see over those seats. They're always down in the back seats of the bus, and that's usually why things are happening. But this will allow us, with that more aerial view, to actually see what is happening and address those concerns faster.
Is I know we talked about it at the committee meeting, but is that 44,000 that's proposed for this bus, is that within the budget, and how would that affect the budget?
It is not. That's something that Tasha and I talked through, kind of the semantics of that, because we have been adding money to fund balance in recent years. So what Tasha would do is add it into the normal transportation. I should probably let you talk, but normal transportation budget, and then kind of at the end of the year, basically reconcile those budgets. If more money is needed, say we do run a deficit, then that will come out of the fund balance. We just discussed, different options, within our tech budget to see what we could do. And we just felt there was just that sense of urgency that this needed to be done sooner rather than later. I feel rather confident now with our new budget situation that we'll be fairly close to balanced by the end of the year.
Okay.
I feel like this fits in with kind of our goal to address safety issues. When things happen on the bus, we need to be able to see, kids don't tell the truth all the time. We all know that. Often we do need to look at the footage and see what actually happened. And then we also have, little kids on the bus with big kids. We don't have different start times for the different schools. So when you've got kindergartners on the bus with high schoolers, as a parent, it's like, and we don't have attendance on the bus driver's trying to drive and do all that, plus deal with the behaviors. So I think making the kids aware too that we have cameras that are better equipped to help you follow the rules. So I just think it's a great investment. And then yeah, the kids in the country, that we've all seen the stories of kids getting hit, and it's just tragic. So anything we can do to try to curb that behavior, I think, is great.
I was going to say, even before we had the bus barn presentation, we were talking about this before that. And I remember the conversations of even within town, like I was behind a bus and there was somebody who had gone around. And so I think it is very important for us to, yes, protect all of our children. Can I clarify though, then, did you say that with the outside cameras, we would be able to present that footage to patrol and then they would be able to instantly issue a ticket?
Yes.
All right, other questions on that topic? All right, then.
Then just quick calendar update. I wanted to say it more publicly that we're waiting for, to see what happens with legislation with the Senate bill that was introduced to allow school districts in the state to start the Monday before Labor Day. We would not be able to have school on the Friday before Labor Day, but that would allow us to, in this case for next year, to start 4 days earlier. If that were to pass, the district would be looking to present a school calendar for for next year, where we would start on that last Monday in August. And just, as soon as we know, we'll get the calendar going, but we just want to let parents and especially staff know that, because that changes some vacation plans. What that would possibly allow us to do is to get out at the end of May, which everybody likes to have. Just that 4 days makes a huge difference in our school calendar. So just, like I said, I wanted to put that out there. We're not sure if will be passed. We got a legislative update last Thursday at the WASB regional meeting, so we'll wait and see.
I was going to say, would that make a difference for summer school?
It
Or we'd
actually
give
would
enough
help.
room at
I
the
know
end.
Aaron and I talked a little bit about leaving the start date for summer school where it is right now. By the time we get out of school, teachers and students usually have like 3 days. You know, there's not really that break. I think we'd probably look at keeping summer school somewhat similar, and that would allow a little bit of a longer break for teachers to just be off of school, kind of recuperate, and then be able to go into summer school. But like I said, nothing is firmed up, but we would start meeting with a group of teachers on that calendar, if that does get proposed.
Okay.
And then lastly, just a quick.
Wait.
I just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Does that actually give us 4 extra days then, in terms of how many hours we're supposed to?
We would probably get out 4 days earlier at the end of the year. So right now our calendar usually goes, somewhere in June. We would just get out of school 4 days earlier, so we wouldn't go as late into June as we have been going now. So, I mean, technically you can add more days to your calendar, but there's a little interplay with the number of teacher contract days and the number of student days. So,
Sure.
but no, we'd be looking at trying to get out of school a little bit earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Then I have a quick update on Third Friday Count. Thank you to Brianna for catching the fact. Sometimes when I download spreadsheets, it only captures one little portion of the spreadsheet, and so if you looked earlier, you only saw a little snippet of that. If you were part of the CAT-T meetings, this is nothing new because I presented that information and sent it out widely to the CAT team. We were looking at our enrollment, and so we are starting to see that decline. And then I had gotten questions as well about the open enrollment from couple of members of the CAT group, and I thought you'd like to see that as well. So it's kind of what I was trying to dig into is historically where our open enrollment numbers are. So once students are open enrolled in, they'll stay in. That's what you're seeing in the in-out column, is students that have been open enrolled in for several years in the district, and students that have been open enrolled out of the district for more than 1 year, and that is by grade level. And then the second column is, those are new open enrollment in applications and new open enrollment out. So as I started digging in with our registrar, I was like, well, why do we have new open enrollment out? And really, a lot of it was due to the fact that the status of that person changed, whether they were, they were open enrolled out, but then they moved actually somewhere else or moved into the district, and so it just, no need to actually open enroll any longer, or they moved into they lived in a district, moved into our district, and then wanted to stay in that district, so they basically open enrolled into that district, which counts as an open enrollment out for us, so they were never our student in the first place because they chose to stay in the district from where they moved. So we've been trying to dig into some of those circumstances, but overall, I think the open enrollment status is actually good news for us. We're on the positive end of that, and you can see there's not a lot of open enrollment out. If we start seeing those trends, then I start looking like, why are people open enrolling out? Where are they open enrolling to? And there's not one specific district where we see, everybody's going to this district or coming from this district. It's kind of a smattering of our districts. And I think with our location here in Lake Mills and all of the districts really being close by, it's really easy because of parents' work locations or daycare that it's not hard to drive your child to or from a neighboring district. So just some additional information for you.
I know we've talked about how summer school can affect the overall funding, the average 3 years. Does that include that's everything? When the state looks at funding, do they look at the 3-year average kind of?
So that's enrollment plus open enrollment plus summer school FTE with a certain formula, just because of the way kids are counted in summer school.
Okay.
Are we able to see kids living in our district who are enrolled in parochial school or homeschool? Because I know you do have to report if your child is homeschooled.
We can see the homeschool
Okay.
families. We cannot see the students that go to St. Paul's or Lakeside or any other parochial school.
Have you seen the homeschool? Like, have we looked into that at all? The homeschool
Yes,
data? I'm curious to see that.
During the pandemic, there was a fairly large
sure.
contingent that decided to homeschool. This year, I think there was only like a couple, two.
I was just
So
curious
it really
if it was still
hasn't
going up
changed.
or if it's just kind of
So we're,
leveled out
kind
now.
of waiting to see if we have any opportunity to perhaps bring back some of our students that are homeschooling right now. But yeah, that definitely increased during COVID.
Any other questions? All right, then moving on to community input. Has anyone signed up? All right, then we will move on to the consent agenda. This month's consent agenda includes the approval of the following: the September 18th regular meeting minutes, the October 9th Facility Committee proceedings, the October 9th Board Workshop proceedings, the October 13th Policy Committee proceedings, September's Treasurer's Report and Vouchers and Invoices, and the Personnel Report. Would anyone like to move any of those out for side approval? All right.
I'll move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on any of those? All right, hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Brianna Beslick,
Aye.
Ken Imers,
Aye.
Andrea Graham,
Aye.
Kirk Lund,
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. Okay, moving on to action items. The first one is early graduation requests. And there were 12 applicants, and they were all included in the board docs, and and there were a few from the LEAP program, which we just heard a presentation from, and then there were also a few that were not, were general ed, so.
Did you have one-on-one conversations? I think, was it last year that you went and
Yeah, I
had
did last
one-on-one?
year.
Was there
I-
anything profound about this group? Or
I didn't with this. I mean, I think it's a celebration, though, to see 8 out of the 12 are LEAP students and looking at their rationale as to why they want to graduate early. Like I said, Sue's done a wonderful job with setting them up for, post-graduation opportunities. So,
And they can still participate in activities even at, can they go to prom and do that kind of things?
not if they've
Not
graduated.
if
We
they've
do allow
graduated, okay.
them, though, to participate in graduation.
Okay.
healthy, and most choose to participate.
All right, then, oh, I'm sorry, Ken.
It's just a small thing. There was one individual that hadn't checked the box for policy 5464. Is that a concern at all?
I know our counselors take care of that, so that's probably the paperwork she had at the time.
Okay.
So they'll make sure they got everything in a row for graduation.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Can I move to make a motion first?
Dear Lord, yes.
Okay. I move the board approve the 12 applicants for early graduation and congratulate them on their graduation.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Now I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Ken Imers,
Aye.
Andrea Graham,
Aye.
Kirk Lund,
Aye.
Brianna Beslick,
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, start college now. How about we ask for a roll call, or not even a roll call, dear Lord, a proposed motion, and then we'll discuss.
I move the board approve the Start College Now requests as presented.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions on this, these requests?
I was just going to say, I think similar to last year, I think the classes that the kids are asking for are just very driven, right? Like we've got some dental hygienists and some nursing and metals and fabricating. So just kudos to them.
Fire Academy's on there? too?
Yeah.
It's impressive.
And hearing from parents of juniors that this, I hope that this is well made known to all the students, because I think that this, with our youth apprenticeship and the LEAP program, this is the type of word that should get out to more and more students who would like to further different careers who don't have school options, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk with Carmen Walden often about that, and we're starting now, I think, see a bit of an increase in that, but not only that, but I think we have some students that are well on their way to obtaining an associate's degree by graduation, which would be wonderful.
Super. All right. If there is no other discussion, I will ask for a roll call vote on the motion.
Andrea Graham,
Aye.
Kirk Lund,
Aye.
Brianna Beslick,
Aye.
Ken Imers,
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, there is now a Starts College Now special request.
Right, so I put in the board policy that keeps our kids at the 18 credits, and so it kind of goes back almost to those early graduation requests, that the student could graduate early and go off and take those classes on their own. I think there is some benefit to the school district. Again, like if we do increase our number of students that are graduating with an associate's degree, we also, I think it's data for us for the high school as far as looking at the number of credits and opportunities that students are able to take. And right now, I'd say it's not like our numbers are really, really high. So we're not paying out a lot. I think if we had 30 students participating in that, we'd have to really draw the line as far as how many credits we're going to pay. But this was kind of an extraordinary, I think, situation just because of when that class is normally offered. It's offered in Jefferson during the night school. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I'm getting two things confused, different student we were working with. So just looking at actually allowing the student to finish out their college credits as a Lake Mills student and not forcing them to graduate early to go and take these classes. So, sorry, we got a lot of different situations going on with students and trying to get opportunities. I think, if anything, we've really just tried to remove barriers for students. So I know Rachel Dickett and Carmen Weldon have just really done a really extraordinary job at the high school, working one-on-one with these students with their career pathways and trying to make things happen for them.
Super. All right. Do I have a motion?
I move the board suspend policy 2271.01 in this situation and approve allowing the payment of additional credits as requested.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Kirkland.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Andrea Graham.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right. Now, the early college credit request, and I will lead the discussion of how is this different than Start College Now?
I wish I would just lump them all together in one category. So the early college credit program is specifically for the UW system, whereas Start College Now is the technical college. So in the Start College Now that you approved, typically we see students taking classes at Madison College, whereas the early college credit would be at a four-year institution.
Okay. I will ask for a motion.
I'll move the board approve the early college credit request as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Andrea Graham.
Aye.
Kirkland.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, the Jewel litigation settlement.
Yes, it's about a year and a half in the making. It didn't cost us anything. We signed on to a class action suit, and so they finally settled, and so our portion was $8,371. That money will go directly back into increasing the number of vape detectors we have at the high school, and also start adding some into the middle school.
Will we have any left aside on reserve to replace? Do they go bad and need to be replaced, or I guess how does that?
No, and I don't
One-time
even
thing,
really,
or-
I'd have to check into what the lifespan is of the vape detectors. I do not know that offhand, so
And then is there any educational part of it as well, as far as
there is, we
class,
don't
or-
pay for that because Officer Johnson does a lot of the AODA work and then through our health classes, so we haven't really needed that component as it's built in.
All right. I will ask for a motion.
I'll move the board to accept the Jewel settlement in the amount of $8,371.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Andrea Graham.
Aye.
Kirkland.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right. The next item is the purchase of bus cameras that was discussed earlier in Dr. Olson's reports. I will ask for a motion.
I'll move the board approve the purchase of 8 Xeon custom camera systems from Nelson's Bus Service, Inc. in the amount of $44,056.18.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any further questions or discussion? Yes.
A couple of questions. First of all, cameras 2 and 3, or channel 2 and 3, it's hard to read, seem to have largely the same view. And even with these cameras, there are still parts of the seats you can't see in between, particularly at the back of the bus. It seems like a camera at the back of the bus, like the one at the front of the bus, would go a long way to dealing with that issue.
Typically, from what I'm remembering, is some of the buses do have a front and a back camera, so a lot of them do have 2 cameras on there already. This new one gives you more of that aerial view into the seats. So like, for example, if you're looking at the pictures, picture 1, trying to look, so that's from the front of the bus. Typically, we'll also have a camera at the back of the bus, and it said, so you can see things that are happening in the aisles and in some of the seats, depending on if you're closer to the front or closer to the back. And it also, these cameras in the buses have audio. So a lot of times, the combination of the audio and the video can usually figure out what's going on. It's, like I said, looking down into the middle of the seats where we don't have always a great view.
Okay,
As a-
so would there be a camera in the back? There isn't one shown here.
He
in the-
he took a screenshot, so right, he didn't show you, so you're kind of seeing a dashboard view of our camera system. You can select the different cameras on the buses and the time and things like that, so I don't know if on this one he just didn't choose it, or if this bus happened to not have a camera in the bus, and that, I mean, right there, that's kind of some of our other issues is, like, depending on what bus you're on right now, like, sometimes there's a camera there, sometimes there's not, and that, when we talked with Brad about the quote, we were, looking at price, and I'm like, you know what, let's just do them all right now. We're choosing that to kind of replace some of the really older bus ones, but it never fails when we're moving a DVR from bus to bus. The one time you move that DVR out of the bus that's the bus that has the incident, and that's like, well, we didn't have, the camera recording on that bus, at that time. So right now it's a little bit of a hodgepodge depending on what bus you're on. But typically I would say buses have the front and the back cameras on them. I'd have to ask Brad a little bit more specifically, but when I've watched bus footage, that's usually what they've had.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I'll take a look too, Kirk. There was a image that showed all the different views and the angles that were options of where you place the cameras. I'm looking for that right now, but I'll try to pull that up too as an
Okay,
additional
great,
piece.
thank you.
Well, because the other thing I was thinking along that same thought of that, those two cameras are middle, it just seems opposite sides. So then, yes, could you place them just slightly further apart so you can get an angle of the back, an angle of the middle, if you don't have that back camera? So then, yes, you're seeing the span of the bus, front to back, all of the seats. Because I think that's the purpose and the reason we would want to approve that, is to be able to have that function to see every single seat. And I think you're right, this current view, I would say no, because you're not getting those capabilities. But if you're saying there are other ones that will have those capabilities, then that makes sense for our purpose of why we would be getting them.
Okay. Is there any other discussion, or are there any other questions? All right. Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Andrea Graham,
Aye.
Kirk Lund,
Hi.
Brianna Beslick,
Aye.
Ken Imers,
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. Okay. Moving on, this item is something was discussed in the committee meetings, that a new when the new summer school coordinator will be hired for the 2024 summer school session, the board was asked to provide a stipend for this position, and it's posted internally in this fall, so.
Yeah, we'll actually be posting it after pending board approval.
Okay.
And just quickly publicly, so as a reminder, Dom Gisha was the summer school coordinator. He was on a year-round contract. We did replace his position with Brad Smith, who only works 220 days, so he does not work in the summer months. So this is to help fill that gap. So we will be, posting that internally.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move the board approve $4,000 stipend for the summer school coordinator position.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Kirk Lund,
Aye.
Brianna Beslick,
Aye.
Ken Imers,
Aye.
Andrea Graham,
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right. Procedurally, this action item is a request of myself, and if not, that's completely okay, to move the November 20th board meeting earlier. So if that's not an option for everybody, then we can keep it at the 6:30. If not, the reason, it's personal, and it's my son's first basketball game scheduled, so that's.
So you want the same day? but
It's just in an
earlier.
earlier time.
Sounds like a good reason to me.
It's the earlier, the earlier what will ever work for anybody and the staff.
Right, and we're already looking ahead to the November agenda. It should be a very short meeting, not a lot on the agenda for approvals. It should be a very short meeting.
So as early as,
My evening is open, you give me a time.
okay,
So like 5?
5? Would 5 work for
works.
everybody?
Yeah.
All right. If 5 works for the 3 of you, then that's what we will set. And I need I see I need a
I
proposed
move
motion.
the board, change the November 20th board meeting to 5 PM.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Just thank you. So I will ask for a roll call vote.
Brianna Beslick,
Aye.
Ken Imers,
Aye.
Andrea Graham,
Aye.
Kirk Lund,
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All
Going to
right.
complain about that going into Thanksgiving week, so that'll be a nice gift.
All right. The final action item is gifts.
I move the board thank our generous donors as always for their continued support of our students and programs here at the Lake Mills Area School District. The first is a donation of books and magazines to the elementary school library with a value of $160 from the Deschateau family. And the next one is a $340 donation to the Tri-M Music Honor Society from Culvers of Lake Mills. And the final one is a $500 ExxonMobil Educational Alliance Math and Science School Grant from the Kelly Williamson Company.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
What will that ExxonMobil grant be used for? Is that for the high school level or?
That was the high school, right?
So just the tech department in general, any? Okay, cool.
All right. Well, it never ceases to amaze me each month, so. The wonderful donors. So I will ask for a roll call vote.
Ken Imers,
Aye.
Andrea Graham,
Aye.
Kirk Lund,
Aye.
Brianna Beslick,
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye. All right, upcoming board action items. Talking about the October 23rd special meeting, it's a week from today, at 5 PM in the high school LMC to discuss the school levy, to set the school levy, and that's a requirement per code. And then also the November 20th regular board meeting that we just discussed the time, the second reading of the policies, and then the other dates that would be discussed. Brianna asked to ask for possible another closed meeting for district administrator review, just to gather the notes.
Yeah, I think last time when we finished, we kind of had a guideline of maybe what we were going to do, but I was just hoping to touch base with everyone and make sure we're all on the same page before, if we want to bring notes to that and kind of go over them, great, and then figure out what to do with them from there.
So would people want that at a standalone meeting, before the November one, not necessarily before, or the early December meeting?
So you're saying tack on to the December board meeting?
Yeah, in a closed session to discuss and gather the notes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would work.
All right, and then also, you had asked, I'm gonna ask you to say what you did.
So the other thing I was just considering is we have done a lot of work and we've had a lot of things float past us. I would love to have a time to sit down and see if there are things still hanging in the air that we'd like to bring back for consideration. Like even as far back as when we had the WASB representative come and give our hey, what does a board look like? What should a board do? Even as far back as some of those discussions, to just kind of sit down together and hash out hey, this is what we think, this is what we've heard, should we bring this back? Those types of things.
And potentially that, if it sounds like the November 28th meeting, maybe extend that workshop, and the first hour be EUA and Findorf discussions, and then the second part be discussion on the other things.
You probably could
For
just
culture.
notice it as board governance. from what I'm
It's the November
Say.
28th committee meeting that was just talked about for the EUA, the CAT team
Right,
review.
okay.
So do from 4:30 to 6:30, or even 4:30 to 7?
They did request 90 minutes for that workshop.
Okay.
That
Just
is
as a-
one.
So maybe half an hour, and then we'll see maybe if we need more time. then we can add on another meeting, so.
I was just saying, I could notice that as board governance, because it sounds like, especially as the follow-up to what Bob Butler spoke with you, that was a lot of those kinds of procedural things and.
Okay. All right.
Send out an agenda for that ahead of time to kind of get some things laid. I feel like we need a plan for that meeting.
Yeah,
Especially if it's going to be short to make
stay
sure we.
focused.
I can work on, I'll pull from the notes from the WASB presentation.
Perfect.
And then also for the December one, I will have, for the December superintendent closed session review, I will grab the notes that I took in handwriting, and I can summarize them and put them in a type format too, so.
Okay.
And everyone just bring theirs as well, so.
Sure.
All right. Then with that, the logistics are done. So now I will ask for an adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
It's been open seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. All right, hearing none, we are adjourned.